Afternoon, nice easy video for an evening. Let's just talk a little bit about the budget. I was going to film a video called, that's quite enough internet for tonight, Geoff, but I think that will wait till tomorrow because that one's going to be quite hilarious. Just before I start this quite serious budget video though, genuinely, I am still a member in the JQ owners group. They haven't worked out who I am or kicked me out yet. And I saw earlier on a guy asking if he could use a generator to charge his car because he can't have a charger at home. The replies were hilarious. I just said, go for it and keep us posted. That's going to end in a big fire. Like this electrically converted Porsche from yesterday. Yes, it's a 911. Yes, it's been converted to electric power. Yes, it's gone up in smoke. So let's see how EVs are doing in the budget. What's in the budget today for motorists? So in the autumn budget, we have got a further freeze on fuel duty, paper mile tax for electric vehicles, and an extension of the electric car grant, amongst other things. So join me as I drive down this beautiful coastal road in Turkey and explain to you what's going on in the budget. I think Rachel Reeves has done two things in this budget. One, she has increased sales of electric vehicles, and two, she has completely destroyed the sales of electric vehicles. So you tell me in the comments if you think she's got any idea what she's doing. But I'll talk about that in a moment. So let's dive straight into this. Fuel duty. Fuel duty has been frozen immediately, and that is a temporary 5p per litre cut that was introduced in 2022. That's going to stay until September 2026. That's my phone buzzing because I just bought this Saab. That's arriving any minute with my friend Paul in Stockport. Then there's future increases. The 5p cut is going to be reversed in stages. 1p in September next year, 2p in December 2026, and 2p in March 2027 if we all make it to March 2027. I'm not sure some of us will. From April 2027, fuel duty will rise annually in line with inflation, which is all based on the RPI, which is the retail price index. The retail price index is basically a number that allows us to calculate just how much stuff has gone up in money over the year. And then what they do is they go, oh, look, stuff's gone up, so we'll put it up in line with the RPI. And then on next year's RPI, it includes the amount that stuff naturally went up and then the amount that it went up when everybody put their numbers up when the new RPI figure was released. And then the next year, the RPI number includes that year's RPI increase plus 2 years worth of people putting prices up based on the RPI. And the whole thing continues until everything costs £1 million. I've never understood why companies feel it's okay to increase their prices in line with the retail price index. That's not the way it should work. But every time I have this conversation with EE, they transfer me through to this special department for people that have worked that out and actually ask those questions. Am I wrong or am I right? And don't get me started on VAT. Anyway, back to the video. Rachel Reeves is launching a fuel finder scheme, a new national fuel finder scheme which will launch in early 2026, which will require all petrol stations to report their prices, allowing you to find the cheapest fuel in your area via apps and sat-navs. I'm not against that. That's not a bad thing. The local fuel station to me is now an Asda, which means they've never got any fuel, and the fuel that they have got is more expensive. So I drive down the road to the lady that I always speak to at the petrol station, who prints the receipt out on basically an old-fashioned typewriter, because you get a better interaction from real human beings. EVs, what are we doing with EVs in the budget? Paper mile tax is being introduced from April 2028. As all of the conspiracy theorists predicted, and no, if you are a petrol head, you should not be celebrating. This is bad. I've done so many videos about paper mile. It's not good news because eventually they'll roll it out to every single car, and that's the plan. Now, what they're doing is they're saying it's going to replace... Right, look, they haven't even worked it out. A new electric vehicle excise duty, EVED. Oh, I bet they were loving it when they came up with that, don't they? They love a catchy little slogan. EVED will be introduced, which will replace the current system for EVs. Notwithstanding the fact that EVs were meant to be zero for vehicle excise duty, and then it's not, and then it went up to a nominal rate, and then you got luxury car tax as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But they reckon paper mile is going to replace the vehicle excise duty. Pure electric cars will pay 3 pence per mile. Plug-in hybrids will pay 1.5 pence per mile. And, oh no, look, this charge is in addition to standard vehicle excise duty. So assuming your road tax on your EV is now £195 a year, which most of them are, you're then going to have to pay 3p per mile on top of that. Now, what this is going to do is mean that from April 2028, nobody is going to buy electric cars. I'm sorry, they're just not. I mean, they're not buying them at the moment anyway, unless they are on Motability or as part of a company car scheme. Private buyers haven't been buying EVs for a long time. But what this is going to do, this is going to push away the few people that were actually going to buy an electric car. There's no way you're going to buy a car that comes with a 3p per mile charge when you know full well that in the next budget they're going to bump it up to 4p per mile. So Rachel Reeves has just killed the electric car industry with this. No one's going to buy them anymore. It's as simple as that. The government estimates the average EV driver covering 8,500 miles a year will pay £255 annually, right? 8,500 miles a year is nothing. So if you're like me and you like to drive far and do stuff, you're going to pay even more. And this is on top of the £195 as it is currently, although that's probably gone up as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you're paying £500 a year road tax, even for your EV, although most road tax bans are based on emissions. So the irony is not lost on me. Note, this does not require a spy in the car tracker. Mileage will be checked during your annual MOT. There's many ways. In fact, it's easier. In the old days, right, to change the mileage on your car, you had to manually roll back the clock with screwdrivers, and you had to be really careful not to break it. These days, you just plug in a code reader, put in some numbers. Bob's your uncle. Well, Bob's not your uncle, but you've just reduced the mileage on Bob's car, which means that when Bob goes for an MOT, they say, "Yeah, Bob, you haven't gone very far this year." "Oh, no, I haven't really done much." "Bob, what about that video you posted on YouTube where you drove to the Arctic Circle?" "Oh, no, let's not talk about that, because, Bob, your MOT history says that you only did 400 miles, but we know that you did that road trip because we saw the pictures." Basically, everybody's going to be using those mileage trackers. Anyway, that aside, because I think that's a whole big joke that will unfold and will end up biting us all on the arse completely, like I've been predicting all along. The expensive car supplement, the luxury car tax threshold, has been raised from £40,000 to £50,000. And what this does is it proves that they genuinely don't have a clue what they were doing, because it never should have been introduced in the first place, let alone at £40,000. It's just how make it make sense. Again, I'm sorry, because your car's expensive, you've got to pay us some money. Why? Where did you get that from? Oh, we just made it up. Well, hang on a minute. If you're just making up money, why do you keep talking about black holes when you can just make up money? Not in the mood for this tonight. I want to go downstairs and finish my whiskey and watch American Gangster, which is what's on the telly tonight. But I think this is a joke. It never should have been introduced in the first place, and then it never should have been introduced at £40,000. But they have now realised that their £40,000 thing was ridiculous, and they've upped it to 50, which, as I've just said, goes to show that politicians do not live in the real world and have no idea how much stuff actually costs. Speaking of which, in a surprise move, even Google Gemini thinks it's a surprise move. The electric car grant, the plug-in car grant, has been extended to 2030. So, they're going to give you £3,750 discount on a new electric car, priced under 37 grand, so that's about 4 cars. They're going to help you buy a new electric car, even though they've just introduced pay per mile on the electric car, which means you don't want the electric car that you didn't really want in the first place. So, our totally confused government has only gone to go and prove that they are totally confused. They've also allocated £1.3 billion to support the rollout of more charging points. £1.3 billion for charging points. What is the point? Road tax. Right, here we go. Standard rates. Petrol and diesel cars, vehicle excise duty, road tax will increase in line with RPI inflation from 2026. Again, I've done the RPI inflation thing, so your road tax is going up. And the Chancellor has pledged to fix all the potholes. Well, no, she hasn't. She said she's going to introduce a new pothole fund from new EV taxes that will help double road maintenance funding over this Parliament, targeting the repair of potholes and local roads. So they're apparently going to start putting money back in from road tax to roads, because people don't realise that the money from road tax just goes into a central pot, which, to be honest, let's not beat around the bush here, it's probably used for COVID contracts and the pension pot, and not actually fixing roads, because we don't seem to have a national policy of fixing things that have become broken. That's a conspiracy theory and a story for another day. I've got a glass of whiskey waiting for me downstairs, so let's whip through this. Motability scheme reform, we did this video yesterday. We've removed luxury and premium brands from Motability, and that's a whole conversation for another day. And the company car tax thing, benefit in kind rates for EVs, will continue to rise gradually by 2% a year as previously planned to give fleets certainty. Certainty that at some point they will go back to the Skoda Superbs that they wish they were running because they were cheaper to run and more reliable than the EVs that they've been forced into. And that means that companies can be certain that at some point their staff will stop getting paid for so much time hanging around in service stations while they wait for their electric cars to charge. That is the budget with Geoff Buys Cars. There you go. That's the rundown. Fuel duty's frozen. Fuel prices are frozen. No, they're not. Well, they kind of are. Fuel Finder app is coming in. Paper mile is coming in, as all the conspiracy theorists predicted. The EV luxury tax has been raised to 50 grand, and buying an EV, the grant has been extended to 3,750 quid. So that doesn't really make too much sense, does it? While we're on that one, shall we just take a look at something from my funny video that was going to come out, that will probably come out tomorrow instead? Let's dive into some thumbnails and see what we can find in my Geoff's funny box of tricks to finish the video with. We're in my folder called That's Enough, because I was going to call this video That's Quite Enough Internet for Today. And what we'll do is I'll just do the top row with you, okay? We'll just do the top row. I've got 120 images in here and most of them are hilarious, but we'll just do the top row for tonight. This is my new favourite car. Been seeing a lot of these around Turkey, and I just think they're absolutely ace. It sort of looks like a Volvo 850 from Temu, but I will do a proper video on what this car is and the history of it, because I don't want to disrespect any of the Turkish people. I love this car. I genuinely love it, so I will do a proper video on that. That's not all of my wives, sadly, although, interestingly, they have just raised the child cap. The two-child cap has just been raised. So normally in the UK, you get benefits if you have two children. What they've done is they've now scrapped that. So you can have as many kids as you want, which is going to be handy for people that do have more than one wife. These are not my wives. This is the lineup for the current Geoffle, or there or thereabouts, according to AI. Details in the pinned comment for that one. Going the wrong way, but look at those wheels. I want those wheels on my car. Really, really cool looking car. Oh, that's the same thing again. Once again, all my wives. This is the car that's just arrived today. Paul is currently collecting this car as we speak, and I've ordered a lot of parts for this car over here, which has gotten very expensive because this car has a terrible MOT fail. In fact, no, it doesn't. What it has is a dodgy MOT from 2024, and I'm now trying to rectify all of the problems. That's the diesel one that we swapped the wheels on the other day. That's the BMW van that we are currently getting the stickers done on. This is interesting. Japanese biologist wins the Nobel Prize for discovering how the body eats its own damaged cells when it doesn't receive food. It's almost like fasting is good for you. Then you got this one, RM Sotheby's. This is going to be in another video. Someone's got a lot of money. The successor of the McLaren F1, the Gordon Murray S1 LM, just sold for $20 million. So that's decent. This is a good meme that's been going around. You can't truly call yourself peaceful unless you're capable of great violence. If you're not capable of violence, you're not peaceful. You're harmless. Important distinction. And then I've got this. Where's the hilarious one? Let me show you the hilarious one. This is it. Honestly, this JQ UK official fan group is my favourite place to hang out online at the moment. Look at this one. Hi everyone. I own a JQ J7 Luxury, and following a visit to the garage due to engine management light, I've been made aware that the GPF sensory hoses have been chewed by foxes. The garage advised that after contacting JQ, they will not sell the hoses separately. There's a lot to say about this, right? It's just this hose here. It's basically made out of rodent food. That's what they've been doing. To save the planet, they've been changing what they make hoses out of, and now they make them out of stuff that is attractive to animals. So this is happening all the time with modern cars. They want $4.5 grand to replace it. I've seen this being a common issue in other car manufacturers because the insulation of the rubber hoses are made from soy or animal fat. If anyone had a similar issue, please let me know or advise where to get the hoses. I'm not willing to pay that much. B&Q, mate. Honestly, if you had half a brain, you'd go down B&Q and you'd have that fixed in about 5 minutes. But you're in the JQ group, so therefore you don't have half a brain. Someone says, this happened to me within a week of having it. Foxes chewed through the sensor cable and set off a load of warnings. So yeah, this EV grant's going to be brilliant. And then someone else just suggests anti-rodent spray. So that's how far we've come in 2025. We're all running around in electric cars, which we're having to spray with anti-rodent spray to stop them being chewed and eaten. Let's finish up with this one. This is the Leap motor. This is the absolute humdinger, tinky-winky winner of the world's most retarded brand new car. Look at it. If you hate yourself, if you hate your life, if you hate your kids, if you hate your family, and most of all, if you really, really don't care what anybody thinks of you because your self-esteem is that low, well then firstly, you're probably entitled to Motability, and secondly, you can have one of these, because look at that. That is unbelievably horrendous. Let's get that off the screen, and we'll finish up with this one, because that's quite funny. Grey squirrels welcome. Look, there's the red squirrels, look, welcoming the grey squirrels to the forest. That's nice. They're all being very inclusive and, diverse and all that sort of stuff. And it's great to see red squirrels welcoming grey squirrels. Then we'll leave that one there. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Let's finish with this, because that's dead pretty. Cool. That's all I got. I have got a bottle of whiskey. No, not a bottle of whiskey, just a glass. It might be a bottle. But I don't think the budget was too bad. But Paper Mile, I mean, look at what we did in Paper Mile. It was coming in, it wasn't coming in. I was a conspiracy theorist, then I wasn't a conspiracy theorist. I was a conspiracy theorist 3 years ago when I tried to explain to you that it was coming in 3 years ago. And now here we are, Paper Mile is in. And what that means now is they'll work out a way to do it for EVs, and then they'll come for you next. Because the first to arrive were the cameras installed to protect both you and me in places where we weren't that threatened, and yet still the people didn't see. Thank you very much for watching this video.